Our country's in tremendous danger of World War III, and I don't think I've ever said this on air before.
With just over 5 months to go until the U.S. elections, everything appears to be riding on what has the potential to be the most contentious presidential race in recent U.S. history.
As I said yesterday at the American Cemetery, the Ukrainian people have been incredibly brave, never given up, never staying, never even yielding, and it's impressive.
While President Joe Biden may be busy with national affairs, having met with President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine in France, where he promised an additional $225 million in support and expressed regret for the delay in military assistance, Donald Trump continues to be the victim of his alleged crime and is instead attempting to ascertain where he stands in the eyes of the American people. Tweets mocking the ex-president have circulated as anticipated. George Conway, one of his most vocal detractors considered for a possible alliance with Trump during his presidency, is, unsurprisingly, at the center of it all.
The Republican Party is in the thrall of a now convicted felon and adjudicated rapist, and they are all jockeying for position in the party because that's what they're used to doing. They're used to parroting his lies and protecting this man who has basically done nothing but bring disgrace to the party.
The former president's detractors keep piling up, and before long, he might be without anyone to help him restore his reputation during this crucial time leading up to the election.
Sentiment that the way that he is undermining, not just saying, "Oh, I'm not guilty." Almost all defendants who go to trial will continue to say that, but to foment that and to foment the idea that it should be taken out.
Alternatively, he must now acquire the presidential mandate, as it is the only means by which he can reverse his constitutional status as a convicted felon, and, contingent on the July 11th sentencing, potentially avoid jail time.
From Trump: George, do you think I'm guilty? The trial was rigged. 1 million responses needed by midnight. And then it gives you a link and it says, stop to end.
It's no surprise that the popular U.S. lawyer and activist received such a text from Trump, and his response is blunt and likely to add to the former president's ongoing meltdown. Until proven differently, he is guilty on all 34 counts.
Donald Trump is banned from 37 countries as convicted felon, including major allies like Canada and U.K. If elected president again, Trump would need special permission to enter several key countries for maintaining foreign relations.
Repercussions for the former president's most recent conviction are becoming more and more extensive. He is prohibited from visiting over 40 nations, including major ones like China, Japan, Israel, the United Kingdom, and Canada.
If re-elected president, Donald Trump would face travel restrictions due to his felony convictions, complicating foreign relations. According to World Population Review, 38 countries, including key U.S. allies like the UK, Australia, and Canada, bar entry to felons. These restrictions could hinder Trump's ability to attend significant events, such as the G7 summit in Canada in 2025. While international governments can grant exceptions for state visits, Trump's situation is unprecedented. George W. Bush faced Canadian travel issues due to a past DUI, but was granted a waiver. However, Trump's 34 felony convictions present a more complex challenge. Countries that bar felons include Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Israel, Mexico, United Kingdom, United States. If Trump applies for travel waivers, the irony will be notable given his previous stance on tightening U.S. travel restrictions and his characterization of foreigners as criminals.
If he were to win the popular vote in November and become president, he would still be subject to restrictions unless he was given special permission or could overturn his guilty conviction.
My question is not how do you do it, my question is why do you do it? Why do you, because let's face it, I mean, you're a billionaire, you got a great family, you're a very dedicated father. People may not see this in you a lot because you keep that kind of private, but my question to you, is why do you subject yourself to this?
The former president's situation isn't great, and we're all curious about how he's handling everything. Undoubtedly, one of his coping strategies is his Truth social media posts. Not only are all these outside variables a problem, but Trump is also regrettably starting to lose on his end. A few days ago, Morning Consult polling results revealed a sharp drop in support from both his Republican backers and a large number of Americans. It is evident that while 15% of members of the former president's Republican Party support this, nearly 50% of independents want him to declare his intention to withdraw from the presidential race.
Now, what's also interesting, Anne-Marie, is I'm going to scroll back to here, and it's a really very similar number in when you ask people, did they reach the right verdict in the jury? Because if you thought before the verdict, when we interviewed people, that you thought he was guilty,
right,
then the answer was right verdict. And these numbers are very similar to what it was before, before the jury reached the verdict.
Wow.
And that also underlines the point here, and again, you see the giant partisan splits, that they're very partisan lenses.
A few days ago, it was believed that many Americans saw the court trial as a farce, with polls showing that more than 50% of respondents blamed President Biden for orchestrating the event. However, it appears that Americans are starting to recognize the proper context for the trial.
Well, take a look at this. We asked, did he get a fair trial? And you get this 56%, but there's something that speaks to your point underneath this. And that is, look at these partisan breaks, okay? And you're gonna see this throughout the polling,
right,
where you get this enormous number of Democrats who say yes.
Given that 44% of registered voters disapproved of the guilty verdict and 56% approved of it, it appears that the former president may be losing the battle.
Let me ask you this. Right now, headlines everywhere, of course, you don't respect, but there are headlines out there that say, when you win your second term, that you are going to make the people that have come after you pay. Retribution and revenge.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Right now, headlines everywhere, of course, you don't respect, but there are headlines out there that say, when you win your second term, that you are going to make the people that have come after you pay. Retribution and revenge.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Right now, headlines everywhere, of course, you don't respect, but there are headlines out there that say, when you win your second term, that you are going to make the people that have come after you pay. Retribution and revenge.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Right now, headlines everywhere, of course, you don't respect, but there are headlines out there that say, when you win your second term, that you are going to make the people that have come after you pay. Retribution and revenge.
Yeah.
It's no secret that Donald Trump hasn't cut ties with his propaganda about Democrats attempting to use their power to remove him from the race for president. He has also started promoting his 2024 Stop the Steal campaign, which will center on seeking revenge and vengeance for the many ways the Democratic government has hampered his presidential aspirations.
I think I really made some headway with him that is not the way to go. I think it's a process. I think he'll turn this over and over in his mind, and I don't think he will do that. And to the extent that I have any opportunity to lean into this with him, I am going to relentlessly try and get him to not do that and to get others to not do that.
In an interview with well-known Dr. Phil, the former president did, however, express his desire to get him back to concentrating on his primary goals rather than continuing to condemn his prosecutors, whom he has labeled as being endorsed by Democrats. It's surprising that a man who is still free until July 11th makes claims of being a prisoner, which he has done consistently. Does he genuinely want to be be locked up? Is that an aspect of his game? Or is this merely a ploy to intimidate the legal system into sparing him a jail sentence should that be the case? It's also puzzling why he continues to refer to the United States, which is experiencing its strongest economic circumstances in decades, as a failing state. To be honest and fair, the former president, possibly even more so than bin Laden, has contributed more than anyone else to needless panic in the United States.
I think God chose him to get this country right, get us back on our feet, and get us back with the Lord like we need to be.
It's disgusting that Trump supporters are part of the offensive drama, portraying the former president as Jesus Christ or the only Messiah who can save this country. It would be interesting to inquire about the progress made by the United States when the former president wasn't born, or even while he was amusingly cheating on his wives and going through a string of divorces. Before Donald Trump made his appearance in the White House, America was in excellent hands, and there are still plenty of qualified candidates for voters to pick from. Presuming he wins, it doesn't mean he will stay in the White House indefinitely, and his 4 more years as president won't save us from anything. Since we haven't seen Melania anywhere since the beginning of the hush money trial case, it's embarrassing that she's also on display there. Even in an AI-generated image, she might be highly repulsed to be anywhere near Trump.
Prominent Trump supporters such as Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia and former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn posted pictures of upside-down flags on social media soon after a New York jury found Trump guilty Thursday.
It seems that Justice Samuel Alito's flag-wrangling antics have spread, and more MAGA supporters have persisted in desecrating and disrespecting the U.S. flag in response to absurd and trivial situations like these. It's odd that we believed the drama was over.
And on the streets, some celebrating, others protesting with upside-down flags. But the question is how voters will react in battlegrounds that may swing the presidential election.
Supporters of MAGA continue to face harsh criticism because of how inappropriate and strange their conduct seems to be. They're now disrespecting not only the American flag, but also our national anthem, by throwing tantrums about Donald Trump for no reason.
Including Joe Biden.
Look, when this election is over, based on what they've done, I would have every right to go after them. And it's easy because it's Joe Biden.
All we could hope for is that people in the United States would be aware of this and take advantage of it when selecting the most qualified candidate for the White House. Donald Trump is ranting about the already concluded court trials, and yeah, he believes we are in dark days. It is up to us to decide whether or not this is true.
The full jury now including an investment banker, security engineer, retired private wealth manager, speech therapist, physical therapist, someone in e-commerce, and a product development manager.
It's arguable to what extent the jury was fair to the former president, but it's important to remember that his attorneys participated in the selection of the jury members who failed to exonerate him on even one of the 34 felony charges against him. Although different opinions have been expressed about the U.S. legal system in response to the conviction, some calling it the new banana republic system, while others applauding the Manhattan court for opposing Trump, it is difficult to determine how the world will view this case overall.
I think it's a complete failure of our justice system, and it's a complete Joe Biden, Kamala Harris hit job.
Nonetheless, there is still a solid sentimental pull among civilians worldwide to support the former president, with many seeing the case as pointless and unwarranted. Nevertheless, the United States views any act that deprives voters of their rights as illegal.
Bidenomics is spelling a summer of suffering for every single American.
They stand up and they say, no, the economy is good. The economy is horrible.
The worst economy in 40 years. Gas prices and food prices and the rent and utility prices because of Biden economics.
Bidenomics is, having people lose their jobs.
More hardship. More suffering.
The president and MAGA supporters must cease their dissemination of dangerously false and extremely untrue rumors about people being unhappy and America falling apart. With so many criticisms arising as a result of these Republican unceasing statements, the situation becomes increasingly unbearable.
When you're constantly trying to sell me on an America that I don't see, I'm not saying inflation's not an issue, But I get on airplanes all the time, and it's not a bunch of rich people. I get on planes, there's people in normal clothes, they don't look rich to me, and the planes are all full, and the hotels are all full, and the freeways are all full. That means people are going to work. You're trying to sell me on this story and this narrative that's just not true. Trump's entire game plan is the country is in a free fall. The America that I live in is imperfect, but compared to the rest of the world, I think we're doing okay.
Colin Cowherd is one of the few who has had enough of hearing lies about America that prevent the public from appreciating a vibrant nation at the height of her power.
Well, Donald Trump is now a felon. His campaign chairman was a felon. So is his deputy campaign manager, his personal lawyer, his chief strategist, his national security advisor, his trade advisor, his foreign policy advisor, his campaign fixer, and his company CFO. They're all felons, judged by the company you keep. It's a cabal of convicts.
There's no denying this is sufficient evidence to support the former president's conviction. For years now, this path has circled all of his allies. He's just been fortunate to have escaped for such a long time. Perhaps he faces additional charges yet to come.
Since taking office, Biden has added more than 13 million jobs to the economy, and he's created more jobs in 2 years than any other president has done in a full 4-year term. In fact, so far, he has created more jobs than the last 3 Republican presidents.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but before COVID-19, which he handled horribly, Donald Trump's economy was doing reasonably well. However, data indicates that President Joe Biden has performed multiple times better and significantly better regarding the number of jobs generated and manufacturing investments made in this country.
See you later.
It is unclear how much support the former president can maintain in the months leading up to the election. However, holding welcome receptions for his MAGA supporters and throwing propaganda won't work nearly as well as what he experienced during the court trials.
And our new swing state poll shows him ahead of Biden in Arizona by 5 points. And he's also leading in Florida and Nevada. And perhaps most surprisingly, he is tied in Virginia. That's a state he lost to Biden by 10 points.
Although Donald Trump and the MAGA movement are going through a very difficult time, a miracle could still occur, and we may not know for sure until the election results are in. With Donald Trump's Truth Social post possibly surpassing the population of the United States by that point, the race will sure be close.
I do feel like it's probably not going to influence a lot of people who have already decided to vote for Trump and a lot of people who've already decided to vote for Biden. I'm not sure how much sway it's going to have because I feel like he's been in and out of legal stuff his whole presidency.
Since the former president is unlikely to stop having meltdowns anytime soon, the drama is far from finished. Hurry and let us know your thoughts on all of these. Stay put, we'll be back as usual. You definitely don't want to miss anything. We're responding immediately to the latest developments. See you in the next video.